Watashi wa ima coffeeを飲みながらバタバタしています. Oh, it feels good to be back talking about Godzilla Minus One. What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be discussing the English dub for Godzilla Minus One, and I'll be reviewing it to find out if the English dub truly did ruin this movie like so many people on the internet claim. I'm so happy to be talking about Godzilla Minus One again. I just love this movie so much, so anytime I get to talk about it, it's just such a delight. Godzilla Minus One is Toho's newest Godzilla film. It came out at the end of 2023. It was obviously a major hit. It became the first Godzilla movie to win an Oscar, and now it recently released on Netflix with an English dub. If you want to hear my thoughts on Godzilla Minus One as a movie, go check out my spoiler review for the film where I get into the full film. It's a big breakdown of the movie, and it sums up my thoughts on the film very well. Also, while we're here, please like the video and subscribe to see more videos like this. It really helps out the channel and really does support me in a big way. I just want to start out by saying, regardless of how I feel about the English dub for Godzilla Minus One, this was a delightfully fresh way to watch what has become one of my favorite, if not my favorite Godzilla movies, at least at the moment. It's fun to get to experience the movie in a new way because I've seen it so many times in Japanese, so it was cool to see it in a brand new light. And like I said, I think at the moment Godzilla Minus One probably is my favorite Godzilla movie. I just think it's really awesome. It's everything I wanted in a Godzilla film. Getting into the English dub here, I do want to start out the way I start out all of my reviews, with the negatives. I like to start out with negatives just because I like to end on a positive note. So I'm going to go through the negatives first so you can hear my thoughts on that. Darren Barnett plays Shikishima in this film, and as much as I love Darren Barnett's voice acting, I do think he's a really strong voice actor. I think he's got a really good style. It was super distracting to me because all I could hear the entire movie was Mike from Skull Island. And I feel bad saying that because I don't want to say that Darren Barnett was miscast simply because he was another character in the genre so recently, but it was really distracting hearing Mike from Skull Island, the Skull Island anime, like the second main character of the entire show, in this movie the entire time. He's just got a really unique voice, so it stuck out to me instantly and it was all I could hear. There was lots of times during the English dub where the characters, Shikishima and Akitsu in the Japanese version, were fully emoting, they were very energetic, and the vocal performances felt like the actors were holding back quite a bit.
And with it, we can buy American powdered milk or anything else.
They never reach the same level of intensity as the original performances, and so there's lots of times where it feels like they're literally holding themselves back, like they were doing the voice acting and they got told to keep it down. They never reach the same level. In fact, some of my favorite Akitsu line reads are completely gone. My favorite line read of his is when he's on the ship. It might be my favorite line read in the movie.
Ha ha! それで俺たちに声がかかったってわけか。しかも
Ah, that's why we're the ones that got called out here. Of course.
I love the way that line is delivered, and in this version of the movie, it's just not the same. Also, sometimes when the characters are moving, like the actual actors on screen are moving, the voices are way too static, so it doesn't feel like they're putting in the physical effort of the original actors. I don't know if that's because literally the voice actors are just standing in the studio, leaning into the mic, talking into it, and so it's kind of hard to pretend you're out of breath or moving around the way that the characters are, or what the issue was there. I feel like maybe they should have been moving around a little bit to try and capture that same type of energy, but at the end of the day, there's lots of times where I feel like the vocal performances don't match the effort level of the character on screen. This is the thing that most people were complaining about with the English dub of this movie, but some of the lines, such as the final line in particular, have been really muddied quite a bit.
Thing is, if we don't step up, who the hell's going to?
Not again. It's just like it's a cow.
We're leaving this country's future with you.
Can this war of yours finally be done?
I don't think they lose their original meanings at all, but they are overly convoluted and lose the elegance of the original script and subtitles. So there are lots of times where the lines are not as strong. But I'd like to point something out here that I've never seen really anybody address, and that's that even subtitles are simply an interpretation of the original dialogue. Even subtitles are subject to change, and that can be seen in Godzilla movies all over the place. A very famous line in Godzilla history isn't even the line at all. In the original Godzilla, according to the subtitles that so many of us grew up on, the line was the actual Japanese dialogue, as was corrected for the Criterion release of that film, is And that is an important distinction. And there are many things like that if somebody else was to subtitle Godzilla Minus One, a lot of the lines might have been different. Getting into the positives of the English dub, I want to start out by saying I really love the way they attempted to pronounce words with Japanese accuracy. The way they pronounced Noriko with the ri instead of Noriko, I really liked that. The way they pronounced the takao was really nice to hear because I've been saying it takao for way too long. I loved the way that they said oro, trying to give the Japanese spin to the word odo, or even the use of the term san. In particular, I loved the nickname Shiki-san carrying over from the Japanese version. It's not in the subtitles for the subtitled version, but they do call Shikishima Shiki-san after they get acquainted with him, and that's really nice because it's an endearing nickname that they've given him, and I like that this English dub brings that over. I think the actors bring a great intensity and energy during action sequences, in particular Godzilla's chase on the boat. I thought the actors were all doing a fantastic job, and certain line reads are really wonderful. Occasionally, the actors make choices that I actually like slightly more than I like the original performances. The only example that comes to mind directly off the top of my head is Shikishima's laugh after Noriko's death. The way that it's played in the original version, I've always felt it kind of felt a little forced. But the way it's played in the English dub, I actually think it works very well. Some line reads, such as Shikishima's reaction to Akiko being thrown at him, or Mizushima's, oh man, oh man, oh man, the way he ends that line, I think are so funny in the English dub. They are so fun, and both of those line reads actually got me to laugh out loud.
What on earth?
Also, this is a very important thing of English dubs, and that's that this movie has a really good sound mix. There's a great balance of dialogue and sound effects. I felt like the sound effects really were brought through in this. And there's also a really good use of reverb and placement of the voices in the film. That's very important because that was my biggest issue with the Shin Godzilla dub. I felt that the Shin Godzilla dub did not do a good job making me believe the voices existed in the world of the film, rather they felt like they were added on top of it. Going through the characters here, Shikishima was played by Darren Barnett, and I think he does a very good job. Pretty solid voice acting. He's a little melodramatic, but I could see some people making the argument the original performances in different ways. My biggest issue was that sometimes he didn't match the energy of Ryonosuke Kamiki, who I think is a wonderful actor who does an incredible job in this movie. But overall, I do think Barnett does a pretty good job in this role. Elle plays Noriko Oishi, and I think she might be the weakest of the core cast, as some of the emotional beats don't really land with this voice performance. There are some pretty good moments, and that's typically when the performance is more subtle, but on the whole, I felt whenever she needed to bring it, she didn't bring it the way that Minami Hamabe did. Kengo Sim played Kenji Noda, and this is where I feel really conflicted. Trying to match Hidetaka Yoshioka's voice is a very hard job because he has such a soft and sensitive voice, but he is an older man. And I think they did their best here casting Sim, but the voice just sounds too young for the character. I understand why he's cast in the role he is, because his voice does have that softer side to it, but it's softer because he sounds so much younger. It is a very strong vocal performance. I want to make this clear. I actually think this vocal performance is one of the strongest in the film. I just don't think it fit the aesthetic of the character as well as it needed to. But by the end of it, I felt like I had completely moved on from that gripe, which was really weighing down the beginning of the movie for me. James Kyo-san played Yoji Akitsu, and I think he does a decent job. He matches the grit of the character, but never captures the full energetic style of Kuronosuke Sasaki, who I think brings this great energy and liveliness to the original film. Koi Dao plays Shiaro Mizushima in the film, and I think he nailed it. This character doesn't have a ton of dialogue in the first place, but I thought he brought the energy and the youthfulness of Mizushima, and so I really liked it. Greg Chun played Tachibana, and I thought he did a great job. It was a very good casting. The voice had all the grit and pain of the original, and he also brought the intensity when needed. Zeihara Fazal played Sumiko Ota, and she was a little off for me, but she did grow on me. It's especially forgivable because she is such a small character, but I did feel the voice performance was a little off from the original. Everdeen Angelis plays Akiko, and she does sound a little older than Sei Nagatani, but she was great in this role. Very cute. She still helped you engage in the heart of the movie, and I think they did a wonderful job with that casting. Kelvin Han Yi played Tatsuo Hota, and at first the voice threw me off because it was a little different than the original. It didn't have the same oomph as the original, but I think that was just because of some of the earlier line reads lacked the power of the original performance. He quickly grew on me, and I liked this performance by the end. My overall thoughts is that the voice acting is actually really solid in this. I thought that all the cast members did a very good job here. Godzilla Minus One is such a visual film that it's going to be pretty difficult to impede the story that much with the voice performances. I'm sure there are some dubs out there. I know there's tons of dubs in many different languages, and I've heard some vary in quality more than others. I'm sure that there are some dubs that are pretty atrocious, and there was a way to make this very bad, and I don't think they did that. Even though I don't think the vocal performances here match the original performances, I don't think they weigh down the movie that much. I've seen Godzilla Minus One without subtitles where I had no idea what was being said, and I still followed the film and was engaged with it the whole time. So if I could do that without understanding it, I think it'd be generally difficult to throw off the movie that much, given how strong of a visual story it is. The vocal performances, while good, don't always match the intensity or elegance of the original performances, and sometimes that's a scripting issue. And so there is something to be said for the original film being the superior version. But I would like to say this is one of the best Godzilla dubs out there. It doesn't change the story in any way, the voice acting is very strong, the sound mix is pretty good, and it's much better than the Shin Godzilla dub, which I felt had tons of miscast characters, a very bad sound mix, and overall it felt like a lack of effort in that version of the movie. I know this is a real hot take, and I think it's ridiculous that it is, but having an English dub is a great way to expand the accessibility of this film to newer audiences, whether it's people who can't see the film literally, if they're blind, or maybe it's people who can't read subtitles, people with dyslexia who can't keep up, or maybe it's just younger audiences, or people who just can't engage with a movie that they have to read subtitles on. I think this is a great way to expand the appeal of this movie. It doesn't detract from the original as long as the original Japanese subtitled version is still available. I see no issues with this existing. I'm really glad that it does. I think it's a very strong dub, and it does not ruin the movie. I think people are just really dramatic. Anybody who says that this ruined the movie probably takes this stuff way too seriously. I'm very glad this exists. As a dub job, I would give Godzilla Minus One minus Japanese an 8 out of 10. I think the dubbing is pretty strong and the new script is generally pretty good, well, a little muddied at times. What do you guys think of the English dub for Godzilla Minus One? Have you checked it out? If not, it's on Netflix now, so maybe you should go check it out and let me know what you think down below. I'd love to hear. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons that I'm able to continue to make videos like this for you. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man out.